Good morning, everybody. Today is floor day, but before we get into that, I just want to point out that Steve is back. For anyone that's watched my channel from back in the day, the early days, they might remember Steve. Steve is my very annoying cold sore that appears anytime I get run down. And I feel like I worked really, really hard last week, and so Steve has made an appearance, but don't worry, he's on the mend. He's on his way out, so I feel good now. I actually did spend a lot of time relaxing last week. I listened to Steve, I always do, and I spent a day at the pool yesterday, hanging out with friends. That was really nice. I've also been having some pretty epic naps and generally just taking it a little easier than I have been. But the show must go on, the work must get done, and so today I'm going to be down in the water tank finishing off the floor. I've already been up. I mixed up a whole bunch of dry mortar to use today, so hopefully I'll have enough. I also went down and visited my trees on the bottom terrace, gave them a drink, moved the hose around, and I'll be dragging that hose around all day to various parts of my land, to various trees. It's nice to distribute the water all across the land rather than just draining it into my well, which has leaks anyways. It's going to be a bit of a challenge to get the floor to the correct slopiness so that the water wants to drain out the drain and not sort of pool in the middle or hang out in the corners. It's going to be tricky, but I have a new tool that I'm hoping will help me out. So let's get down to the water tank, take a look at that tool, and see what I can figure out. But first, I hear somebody. I hear somebody. Are you there? Hello. Good morning. It's gonna look so cool when all these sunflowers open up. What do you think? So here's the new tool that I'm hoping will help me do the floor so that it slopes properly. It's a laser level. I was gifted it by the folks at LASGOO, I'm not sure, LASGOO, and I've never used one before, and I'm hoping the learning curve isn't too big because I really want to get started with this work. So let's open it up and see what I'm dealing with here. Ooh, looks like it comes in a nice little case. Ooh, this is very swanky looking. Ooh, this is really, really nice, the way they've packaged this up. I don't know what any of this is. That's going to be a battery. This is the laser level, I know that much. And this is the instruction booklet. So I have a feeling I've got a bit of reading ahead of me. So I'm going to take the batteries up, give them a charge, and have a look through this guy. And hopefully, fairly soon, I'll be back down here using this level to help me make my floor. So I've just been in my house having a read of the manual, and it's very, very straightforward, I think. Plus, this thing comes with 2 batteries, so one of them came fully charged, and it's ready to go. I'd first like to say, though, I'm a sucker for good design, and I am really into the slickness of this packaging. I can definitely be won over by good packaging, and this thing feels really sturdy. Comes in a nice little carrying case that has a handle on it, and it's nicely padded, and I'm very, very impressed. So I've got the level, I've got a little base that it sits on, which I can screw onto a tripod if I want to. I'm going to try it without it, just sitting on the base of the tank. I've got my level to compare the level, and a pencil, and my idea is basically to shoot a laser beam around the bottom of the tank and then mark level around the entire tank so it's at the same level, and then I can measure up and down from there to get a level line at the place that I want the floor to be roughly, and I can adjust higher or lower from there. You know, let's just do it, and I'm sure it'll all make sense once I start working. To be honest, I'm not sure it completely makes sense to me yet, but hopefully it all comes to me as I start working. So let's see what this thing can do. Okay, so this thing turns on by pushing this, and the lasers I think will fire out immediately. Okay, and in theory, it should self-level if you place it on a surface that's more or less already not too wonky. There's some sort of level of acceptance. So if you put it on something like this, it's probably not going to self-level. Yeah, it's still blinking and looking angry, but this is good enough, and then you can see the lines kind of moving around. A little mark there, and a little mark there. Turn this off. And then I'll line it up to the 2 marks. And the bubble's in the middle. All right, it's self-leveled. It made a line. I think I know how to use this thing. Let's make a line around the bottom of the tank and then make a floor. I think I'll use this little base. So crank it up like that. Screw it on like that. Tighten it up. And then I can raise it and lower it as needed. So that's kind of cool. So it looks like if I position it here, it somehow gets to the entire tank. I don't know if this thing is designed to work in the sunlight. I'll put it to the test on a different project, but for this, it looks like it'll work just fine. So let's mark it up. This laser level has been amazing. I'm already thinking of all kinds of uses for it for the future. I'm definitely going to use it for laying out my tool shed foundation. And I'm going to compare it to using a water level, which is a tool I really love, and I'm excited to show people how they match up, because a water level is an amazing low-tech solution for getting things level. The water level would have been really difficult to use for trying to get this line inside this water tank. I could have made it work, but it would have been pretty tricky. So I'm really happy to have the laser level, so thank you, LASGOO, for the level, and you'll definitely see me bust this thing out a lot of times in the future. But now I'm gonna cut a piece of this stuff to size, and then I'm gonna take a break for lunch. I don't want to rush this floor. I want to do it without being hungry and take my time. So definitely not the exact size I needed, but close enough. Time for lunch. I'm back. I had a long and leisurely lunch. I had a nap. I'm trying to listen to Steve and to take it a little easier than I have been lately. But the floor isn't going to lay itself, so I've been down here doing some more prep, including mixing up a batch of mortar. I've scrubbed out debris from the bottom of the tank, and I'm ready to go. So let's lay the floor. I fear I have planned poorly. I'm probably going to have to try to reach over from this step and work here. Good morning. I'm back down at the water tank, ready to get going on the last layer of the floor, and therefore the last layer for the interior of the structure of the tank. The only thing left to do now is the waterproofing layers, so that's very exciting. I'm excited to get this section of floor done, and I'm going to do it this morning, although it is weirdly cold. It's 8:30 and there's a chill in the air, which is absolutely unheard of for July. So I don't know what that's all about, but you will get no complaints from me. It's amazing. So let's take a look at the section of floor that I did yesterday. Fingers crossed it's okay. And then I'm gonna start the morning, as with every morning, by hosing down the water tank. I hose this thing down several times a day, and the idea is that you want to keep it wet and fed with water so that it doesn't cure too quickly and want to crack. Good morning. Have you come to inspect my work? I'm gonna go take a look now. Come into the tank. So, it looks good from here. It feels good. I'm gonna walk on it. Yeah. So it's curing up nicely. And yeah, I think ready for the next layer, so let's do it. So this is good news. After spraying the tank, you can see that the water is sort of running off the steps, and it's mostly going towards the direction of the drain. It looks like it kind of wants to channel through there. There might be a bit of a dip here, but honestly, it's a lot better than it was before, so even if I can just get it close, that's fine with me. So I currently have 3 different mixes down here, and I'm going to add a 4th. This one is the final layer for the floor, and that looks like the final layer for the rest of the tank. This one is the sub layer for the floor, and that's going to be what I use to go on the rest of the tank. I'd love to be able to do this outer wall and that opposite wall inside where the spring is today, but we'll see. And this mix is lime putty and coarse sand, and that's what I've used for the pointing, sort of the interior packing pointing. And I'm going to get one more mix down here, which is going to be fine sand and lime putty, and that's for the finish pointing, which I'll probably try to do there. So I've got a lot of work ahead of me. Let's see how far I can get. Starting with the floor. Okay, the mix is made. Now let's whack a level on this and see how well I did yesterday. So that is sloping down, but you can see there's a little divot there. So I'll try to fill in this while keeping the slope, but it looks like it's quite a big slope, so that's okay. That looks sort of flat. Looks like there's a little bit of a divot there, a little bit there, although that looks kind of okay as well. Yeah. So yeah, if I focus on trying to get this part built up a little bit more, sloping everything that way, I should be good. Okay, this is looking close. Let's get a level on this, see how it looks, and then I'll fill in the divots. So I could mess around with this all day, but as lots of people have reminded me in my comments, done is better than perfect. So I'm gonna let this set up a little bit. I'm gonna have some breakfast, and I'm gonna come back and finish it off with a sponge. Seems a little wet still. I don't really know when the sponge stage should happen. I feel like I really have no clue. I think I'll give it a little longer. So while I wait for this to harden up a little bit, I'm actually gonna work in here. It's a disaster zone of greenness, and I would absolutely love to be able to render this wall here today. So I'm gonna work at tidying this up off camera and check in again when it's hopefully nice and clean. Okay, it's been another, I don't know, half hour or so. Let me see what the sponge will do. You know, that seems a bit better, but I actually don't really like the way it's bringing the sand up to the surface. So I'm gonna stick with what I did for the rest of the tank and do a trowel finish. I'm into the trowel finish. It's good enough. I could probably tinker with that for ages and end up just making it worse. I'm quite happy with how it looks, so I'm gonna walk away. I've finished cleaning the section beside me, so let's take a look at that, and then I'll get started plastering that wall. So it's still a bit scummy in here, but it's definitely a lot less green and gross than it was. It's really hard to get in here to grind, so I'll have to do this with a wire brush. Go manual. I don't even know what's happening under here. I'll address that another day. Today, we're gonna do this wall. So before I get started with the plastering, I have these little hook things, and I'm gonna put these on the four corners of the splash pool so that I can attach some kind of tarp and tie it down to these. So I'll put one over in this corner, and one of them is gonna go right here. So I'll put that in place first, and then we'll get started on the rendering. It probably shouldn't be held in place with a render mix, but it's not going to be holding a lot of weight or anything. So this is definitely a crappy spot to film in. I'm going to go put my camera on charge, and I'll see you again when I'm closer to this side where I can actually have space for the camera. So I'll see you soon. I've just finished a little break after about a half an hour of work plastering in the tank. And I gotta say, I did more than I was expecting, and I think I'm getting better. So let me show you what I've done, but first, let's take a look at this floor and see how it's curing. I can already tell by the changing color that it's gonna be a lot more set than it was earlier. I actually ended up spraying it with water prematurely and putting a whole bunch of drops everywhere. But now it's nice and hard, a lot harder than it was before. And I'm gonna give it a try. I'm gonna try to give it a spray and spray the rest of the tank as well because it's quite a hot day today. Yeah, so it's setting up really nicely. All right, let's go take a look at the wall I've been working on. I did this entire section in about 30 minutes, so I'm definitely getting a lot quicker, and it's a lot less frustrating than it was the first time around. I think it's because I have a manageable size to deal with. I'm not trying to do an entire tank, which was complete madness, really. Plus, I've had a lot of great tips in my comments. I can't think of specifically which ones I've been using, but I definitely have used a bunch. I've cut the fiberglass mesh. I've pre-cut that. I've wet my trowel more often than I was before. I'm using a sloppier mix. And there's definitely a couple of other things as well that I've taken to heart and I've used this time around. So thanks everybody out there who leaves me comments and gives me tips. So it's actually been a really enjoyable day, which is good news because I didn't have a really great time with the rendering last weekend. It was really, really tough. And I'm happy that I'm coming around to it. I can feel myself getting better at it. And that's encouraging for future projects involving rendering. And I think I might actually end up enjoying it, which is quite surprising considering how I felt about it last weekend. So enough chitter chatter, let's finish off this last little bit so I can call it on work for the night. So I've got a little bit of tidying to do down here by this pipe. I need to cut this again to make it fit. And then I've got just a little bit of render to use up. But I'm going to do that off camera. And I'll see you guys tomorrow when I'll show you the final results. There's the orange cat over there. I think he's waiting for me to go away so he can sneak inside the house and steal Mikey's food. But they're friends, so Mikey doesn't actually protect this food. Come here. Come here, orange cat. Come on. Come on. Mikey, go say hi to your friend. Go say hi to your friend. Let's see if I can get a little closer. He's very skittish. Come here. It's okay, little buddy. It's okay. All right, never mind. As you can see, it's a gorgeous day, so I'm gonna enjoy this beautiful evening, call it the night on work, and see you tomorrow. Good morning, everybody. It's a gorgeous day, if a bit windy. I'm hiding down in the water tank, trying to shelter from the wind, where I'm going to give the tank its morning hose, and I'm also going to check out the floor and the wall that I did yesterday. So let's take a look at those two things and give this thing a good soaking. So I'm actually standing on the floor, which is a very good sign, and it feels really good. There's some bits here where the droplets caused it to sort of flake away, but it doesn't seem like it's too bad, and I'm very pleased. And yesterday's wall is looking pretty spiffy as well. I'm really happy with that. One cause for concern is where this water is coming from. I'm pretty sure I solved the leaky part underneath this pipe, so I wonder if the water actually drains in from over there, which could be another sort of spring access point. I'm not really sure. It's not a big deal. It just will make life difficult when I want to work on the floor in this area here. But I'm very happy with how this is set up. The floor looks really good. Let's give it a hose. So the water is draining out the hole as expected. There's not too many pooling places, but I have had another piece flake away. It seems like it's kind of lifting up a bit, so that makes me a little worried. I'm gonna leave it for now. Possibly I shouldn't have sprayed it with so much water so soon. So I'll let this dry out, monitor the situation, and if anyone out there has any idea what's going on here and how to repair it, I would love to know. So that's it for this video. I still have a very full day of work ahead of me in the tank. I want to do some walls and do some pointing while the tank is still empty for another day and a half. So the next time you see me in the water tank, you'll see some big changes. So I'll say goodbye from this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. As always, any questions, comments, if you just want to say hi, leave them below, and I'll see you in the next video. Where do you think you're going? What's in there? I wouldn't go too far in there. Come back, Mikey. It's dangerous. Mikey's gone caving. You're not stuck, are you? I guess that's where the coldest, freshest drinking water is. But my suspicion is that it's also where the toads are. You coming out? Alright, I'll leave you there, you weirdo.